Hello, socialites. Welcome back to Survivor Social, the Survivor podcast where we focus on the social aspect of Survivor. As always, I'm your host, Tegwyth, joined with the incredible Cara, my co-host. Cara, how are you today?
Doing great. So excited for this episode. It's going to be so much fun.
I know. I'm so excited. We've got an amazing guest for you guys today. The icon herself, Anika. How are you,
everyone? I'm so excited. And I'm so excited to be talking about with you guys today for the Mergatory episode.
Mergatory. I mean, it's such an iconic new era staple, the Mergatory. And I thought this episode was really good. And I can't wait to get into everything with you guys. Before we get into it, though, make sure if you're watching to subscribe. We're live also. So if you have any questions, if you want to just join the chat, say hi. We love it. Ollie says, is that the fashion queen of Survivor 47? I see. It is. It is. So Anika, I want to start off. How are you feeling about this season 48 overall? Are you liking it?
I'm kind of obsessed with it. Like, it is the gift that keeps on giving. Every single episode, I feel like, has had an unexpected outcome, twist, emotion that we're like seeing. There hasn't been an episode yet that I haven't been entertained by. So I love the characters. I'm really excited about the season, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here.
I know. And I think, Cara and I have been talking about this all season. When, New Era has the big staple of the New Era is just the casting is so good. And we're seeing it again this season, especially where I liked this episode. I think this episode wasn't as sitting on the edge of your seat as all of the other episodes for me. But I don't even think that necessarily matters when the casting is so good. And the cast is just like that moment between Cedric and Star, like just seeing these moments are just it's just such a good season and it's so good. Cara, from this episode, like what was the moment that stuck out to you the most? Because I felt like, it might not have been the vote because so much happened.
Mm-hmm. I do feel like one of the big moments of the episode was the Star and Cedric conversation. I feel like that was huge. So that definitely stood out to me. And also something I thought was interesting and I feel like will be interesting going forward is Say and Mary's relationship, because Say was happy to see Mary, but Mary was not feeling the same thing. So I think that's going to be interesting to see.
Anika, how did you feel about the Say and Mary joining together again?
I think it's so funny of the editors to put in that dynamic. Like, they were like seeing both of their confessionals and they were like, wow, I can't wait to edit this. I can't wait to eat this up. Seeing the different perspectives out there, they knew to watch them. And I am so happy they put that little segment in. I find it so funny. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens now that they are both still in the game.
I know. I love like the fact that they're both very much gamers. It's not like they're both gamers. And at some point they approach the game in a very similar way. But the fact that they approach their relationship so differently is so interesting. And I really am excited to see kind of the messiness. I think I don't think it's going to be, while I do think they might work together in the future, I don't think it's going to be clear cut.
Yeah, which I find actually really interesting because someone like Say is obviously seeing herself change and adapt while she's out there, right? She's changing her views on different people. We've seen similar situations with like an Emily Flippen, for example. Like, she's out there and she's, learning more about herself. She's learning about her relationships with other people. And it is funny seeing someone like Mary, who's so opposite to that, where she's like holding on to kind of that experience where she's like, I don't want that ever again. And I don't see the flip side of this. So it's two completely different ways to view a situation, and it's two very fair ways to go play the game.
Absolutely. And I really liked that moment where Mary was like, get the green off of me. If I could be naked, I would, but I can't be naked on national TV, which I think is very exciting for her prospects of working with other players. Because what I think that this season, what makes it a little bit different than other seasons is how much people are kind of crossing tribal lines and working together. Cara, how have you felt like that dynamic is being portrayed this season? Do you like how that feels?
Yeah, I like that everyone's trying to work with other people, not just stay with the people they started the game with. I think that makes it way more interesting, and I think it makes for better gameplay.
I think this is a good segue here. I actually wanted to talk about the importance of maintaining your perception out there, or the perception. And then the second part of that is being self-aware enough of what your perception is. So I think there's players we've seen in the past, like, for example, Andy is a great example, where he was aware of his self-perception where he was on the bottom, and he knew how to play for that, like play to use that to his advantage. If you know you're in a good position, like, how do you make yourself less of a threat? And the point that I found really interesting in this episode that I wanted to point out was at the merge feast, where I should say, when Eva and Kyle are having a conversation, Eva finds out that her name's being thrown out, and she asks Kyle, who's being thrown out? Who's throwing out my name? Kyle remembers that it's Say. But in reality, we saw at the merge feast that the first person who threw out her, Eva's name was actually Chrissy. But Chrissy's perception out there is like not game body. She's not, manipulative. So no, Kyle, a good point is we're starving out there, right? Our memory is so bad. So it really matters what the perception is. And Kyle remembered it was that Say was bringing it up because her perception out there is a little bit chaotic. So that was a really interesting moment to me to watch, because it doesn't really matter what you say out there. It really matters socially what your perception is on the island.
That's such a good observation and an amazing point, because again, Survivor life is this, right? Perception is kind of reality, even though it's not really reality. It's how people perceive you and how people want to work with you. And if you're perceived as chaotic, how do you, do you just continue doing that? And I think that's such an amazing observation and a really great point, because that's kind of why we see, if we're looking at this with Chrissy, the Chrissy maybe archetype, where when they go to the end, for example, Brenda and Dawn, right? If you are seen as somebody who is trustworthy, maybe a motherly type, you go to the end and they're like, I can't believe you were playing Survivor. And then in this moment, you can see how it might be working in her favor. And I'm not saying that people think that Chrissy is their mom, but it's just you have even if it's, hey, that perception versus this perception is that's very, very interesting. Jay agrees. Astute observation, Anika. Do you think while we're talking about this, do you think that Chrissy, if she gets to the end and people think that she played too hard, do you think that would be something that would be used against her? Or do you think we've kind of moved past that in New Era Survivor?
I think it's actually really hard, because when you're out there, if people don't understand that you're playing the game, it's really hard in those final moments to convince people that you did, especially the jury, who all they get is tidbits from tribal council. So if you're not proving to them in tribal council, only having one final, every single time a jury member is, listening to everyone, they're taking notes. They're already filing in their mind who they think is playing the best, who deserves to win. Those discussions are happening. So you kind of, even though some people say they go into final tribal council without, an idea of who they want the winner to be, if you aren't even in the running, it's really hard to convince anyone in those final moments. So for Chrissy, we're seeing those moments, but if no one else is catching them on the jury, I think she might struggle a little bit. You would have to be a really good salesperson in that final tribal to be able to win people over with those silent moments.
Yeah, it's like Carolyn. Obviously, I'm not saying that Chrissy and Carolyn are playing the exact same game, but we got to see how Carolyn was playing and what she was doing and her hand and all of the pots. But if you go to the end and no one saw that at all, you're walking, when you're playing Survivor, you're walking a tightrope, right? Yep. You don't want to be too big, you don't want to be too small, you got to be Goldilocks, you got to be just right. And I find that very interesting. How do you feel about Chrissy's longevity in the game?
We'll see. We haven't gotten much from her. She's getting purple a little bit. I mean, we got a little bit more this episode, which is nice, but we don't really see who she's partnered with. Jeff talks about duos this whole entire season, and we don't really know who her alliance is. We don't know who she's talking to. So she's a big question mark for me still. I don't know about how you guys feel about Chrissy, but I feel like I just don't know enough yet.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if she was the next person to go home. I was really expecting to see more of her and Joe and the firefighter dynamic, but we haven't. I feel like that's something they would have talked about right away, and they would have showed us if that happened. So I'm surprised that hasn't happened.
Well, her and Cedric, she was talking about her bond. I was expecting to see more of that. I was expecting to see. You're so right with the two firefighters on the same season. Crazy.
No, but we're getting milk though.
Oh,
a lot of milk.
Not 1 gallon milk drinker, but we got 2.
2. I don't think I've ever
Every day is
been a
crazy.
milk drinker. And now they're 2 on 1 season. That's crazy. That's crazy. But also like that obviously is not gonna that's not what makes an alliance. But we are seeing like their bond with milk, but this honor and integrity kind of group of people forming. Anika, do you think you can play an honest game of Survivor? And
that was my dream tag. I wanted to go with my 4 alliance, but I got blindsided. So obviously it's just so interesting watching this. It feels a little bit old school in like a great way, or like even a Reba 4, where it's awesome to watch, but the name of the game is that one person wins. Where I have to give points to Kyle, right? So we're seeing David's confessional talking about like how he wants I think his exact words is that we will win. One of us or we will win is the exact words he uses, right? Where I'm like, buddy, like you want to win. Like, let's remember that it's a game for $1 million. And there's only one winner. Versus Kyle's confessional that we saw the exact same similar dynamic where he's like, I'm aware of the game. Like, I want to take this as far as we can. He's giving David warning about Shaheen. Like, I feel like we are seeing that Kyle is aware of this honest and integrity game versus maybe some other people like Joe. Honestly, it seems like Joe is just playing out of like the goodness of his heart. And if whatever happens to him, which I can commend, but I was out there looking for the number 1 title. So
yeah, I think this was. I mean, granted, I was biased because I was at a watch party where Kyle was. But I think that this was Kyle's episode. Like, you know, not only did he win immunity, but the fact that he is being brought in to this integrity alliance or whatever we want to call it, the milk guys, and even though they voted against him. 2 of these people voted to get him out of the game and only an idol saved him. And that Camilla is not a part of this, even though, I mean, she will be because Kyle is. And the fact that he was brought in and they're like, yep, we're in it. Let's do this. And he said, yes. But he's still working with with Camilla, pardon me. The way he has set himself up, I'm like obsessed with.
Which to add to that, right? Like, he is now in this alliance. He is winning the challenges. Like, he is now an immunity threat too. So I'm curious to see, like, and his name's not even thrown out. Like, he's in all the best social situations. He is clearly also a challenge threat now too. So I'm curious to see how he like manages his threat level in the game.
Yeah.
Because this was the episode, he killed it.
Yeah.
It's so funny how Shaheen and Joe like didn't even bring up the fact that Camilla and Kyle voted together or any of that ever again. They didn't even question it.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's honest.
Well, I think it's because of how he played it. He played it in a way that it was so well. I mean, so good. We talked about this last week, but he came back from camp and he said, oh, yeah, you know, it looked like somebody went through my bag and like all of this stuff. And, you know, I think the way he was able to pull that off was just genius. And so I do think Kyle and Camilla are still under the radar. Now, granted, we might not be seeing the edit, but the fact that they are still, you know, working together and Camilla is not a part of this like alliance overtly, I think is brilliant. And it also excites me for Camilla's game, even though she's not a part of this alliance.
I agree. And I think going back to that perception point, like the rest of the group's perception of the 2 of them, if they go off talking, it's like, oh, because they have a cultural bond or like all these things. Like, it doesn't seem, because they set it up that they're not talking strategically with each other, which I think is a beautiful plan, to outwardly say to everyone, like, we don't talk strategy is so smart, So if you do go talk off together, that's the perception they have of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And Ollie has a great point here. Ollie says, wanted an alliance based on being physical threats and players, but Mitch and Mary have done better than half of those people in the alliance. Mitch, I think, is probably the most dominant physical threat out there. He doesn't have rippling muscles and probably doesn't drink a gallon of milk a day, but that man can throw a ball like nobody's business.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
So it's like this perception of he's just not this big, like, behemoth of a guy.
Yes.
So does that mean that he's not like a physical threat? It's a very interesting because again, it's all perception. And I'm very excited to see where it goes. And I really hope that Kyle continues to play this, not necessarily like on the fence, but if he can continue to win immunity, in theory, if this alliance is like, you know what, we want the strong to win out, then maybe he is positioning himself brilliantly, because maybe he might be a physical threat, but if he's an alliance of all physical threats who want to protect physical threats, then they would be hypocrites for voting him out for being a physical threat.
Calling it a physical threat is so funny to me. I feel that comment so passionately because I didn't expect myself to be good at the challenges when I was out there, but I actually think that was where I succeeded the best in terms of like swimming, running through it. And like, but if you look at me, right, like it looks like I wouldn't be. But then I surprised myself out there too. And I think we should be calling it like physical looking threats because they're not necessarily like a lot of people have power out there. Like Mitch is killing it as well. Yeah. So great point there. Yeah. Mitch basically carried Cedric up the ramp. Absolutely.
Truly. And I think, there are, and again, I don't know if the seasons that they watched were, I don't know if they watched all the seasons or whatever, but I would consider Dee a physical threat. And that was before, and she won with a pretty solid alliance, and she protected that alliance to the end.
Yep.
Definitely.
And so, I think that's the question with stars around it. What is a physical threat? And speaking of stars, I would also say that, when they were making, like when Joe and Eva were bonding originally, there was a scene cut where Star was talking about how she was also on the track team and she did all of this. I think she played another team sport. I'm not sure what it was. And I think that she probably does well physically. She says herself, she's not the strongest swimmer, but I think that this episode was a great episode for Star, this and the last episode. And I really hope that we continue to see this coming from her. What do you think, Anika, with what we've seen from Star? Do you think she's setting up a game that she's able to like continue to play? Well, is she going to be too threatening now with these, alliances?
I think it was a really smart move of her this episode. I think the last episode where we saw her give her the Star give Eva the idol, I think two things kind of happened. One, I think there was an awkward moment out there where Eva didn't immediately be like, "Oh, I solved it. Here you go." Like even even outside of the game, right? If that happened, I would be like awkward being like, what do I say? Do I ask for it back? I can't ask for it back. So I'm just going to stay quiet. And I think like it was an emotional response evoked from Star in that moment to be like, you can keep it, girl, it's yours. Like that was a very natural, I think response to have. But I think the way she is handling it afterwards is genius. And I think her, socially sticking with that group, with Eva, with Joe, I think there is a world in which she listens to Charity and says like, hey, let's talk about sharing that idol, girl, or like, what's our plan to do with it? But I think what she chose to do with it and tell Eva, hey, Charity's saying this, I think was the right move socially to gain their trust, like for another level. Like giving the idol was like level 1. She's leveling up with giving them information. I think that she's setting herself up to be trusted by this honest integrity group. I think, let's say this group was playing a little bit differently and they weren't playing with honesty and integrity, I think that outcome could be very different. But I do believe Star is aware of that's how this group is functioning. And knowing that, she made the right move.
Yeah. I agree. Now here's the question. Does the honesty and integrity reach out to people not within this alliance? Because the thing is, my big thing is when people say that they want to, like, I think you can play a loyal game because you're playing a loyal game with people. Like if you're like, hey, I'm playing a loyal game to a person, I'm playing a loyal game to a couple of people. I think you can even say, even if you backstab everybody, you're playing a loyal game to yourself. I think there's an argument for playing loyal games. I think it's very difficult to tell people you're playing an honest game, because if you think back to like Mike, right? When he was sitting at Final 3, everyone was like, yeah, you said you played an honest game, but you didn't. You burned me. You burned this person. You burned all of these people. And he's like, well, I was honest to people I wanted to be honest to, honest with or whatever. And so that's the thing. It's like, if you're saying you're playing an honest game, are you going to be honest to everybody? Or are you, like you're saying, you're playing an honest game to everybody? Or are you really only going to be honest to the people you choose to be honest with too?
Is it even possible in this game to have an honest game with everybody? Like, that just means you're staying out of the vote every single time.
Yeah.
Like, or I guess, like, if you know someone, it's hard when you have an honest group of, like you said, of 6, 7 people.
Yeah.
Like, great point, Tag, where it's like, if you're saying honest to one person, yeah, that's easy to maneuver around and not vote for that one person. If you're saying you're not going to vote for 6 people, what's going to happen when you go to top 6?
Yeah.
I think it's
no, there's no way. I agree. I think that you could, like, I feel like it's important to make that distinction at Final Tribal, that you are honest with these, like, the people that you are loyal to, and to own up to lying to everyone else. Yeah. And I feel like that is more respected than being like, oh, I was honest the entire time, I didn't lie to anyone, versus being truthful about it. That's being truthful and honest.
Yeah. And I feel like, maybe in season 1, we had people who played an honest game all the way through. They obviously didn't win because Richard Hatch won, but it's like, it's a very, very hard thing to do. And I think it'll be interesting to see the people that Star is wanting to work with, is wanting to trust, are these, honest people, but are they going to be loyal and honest with her? Is she included in that?
There was one other thing I thought was so funny at the, like, merge feast. Star, they were talking about Eva having the idol, and Star was like, oh, I heard she had it, but I didn't know how she got it, which I thought was so funny, because it was like, obviously you gave it to her. And then I couldn't remember, like, who was there when that whole thing happened, but I also thought it was funny that no one, like, brought it up.
Yeah. That was really interesting too. I thought it was interesting the way that the teams paired up, that the duos stuck together somehow within the tribes. Like, Eva and Joe were together, Camilla and Kyle were together, these duos that we're seeing. Yeah. And that's a really lucky thing. Well, it's just interesting because the biggest thing for me watching the show is, like, obviously what if, right? Like, after playing the game, you just come up with a million what if scenarios. And it's like, what if the duos were split up? Like, how different would those conversations be? And then the aftermath of having to reconvene and tell your duo, like, who's saying what. So that was just an interesting thing to watch also, and how lucky it kind of played out.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about mergatory, in the sense of, like, was this a merge? Was this a mergatory? How did you feel about this iteration of it?
Oh my God. What are we talking about in the new era? Like, what even is this? Mergatory, to me, I mean, people will have their opinions. I think it's all the same thing. I think whether we're calling it a merge, we're calling it a mergatory, I think there's pre-jury and there's jury. And in my head, this is a merge. If you have an option to talk to every single person who is playing the game, it is a merge. It is so hard being out there and having limited contact to the other people playing the game. You're making eye contact, you're making smiles, people are watching you smile at other people. Like, all of that is so hard. So the moment you actually get to talk to everyone, point blank, it's a merge.
Yeah.
And then we have the next second level, which is jury and pre-jury. And, like, unfortunately, not everyone's going to make the jury. I think that's how she would be calling it. But, like, all this terminology is crazy. I have an interesting point too. Cedric being self-aware of him being the reason they lost the feast is such an interesting moment that we see sometimes where it's like, oh, you let your team down, but this one was probably the biggest, most exciting one. And, like, sometimes if it's like a group that let them down, or, like, it's so obvious that it's like, it was so painfully obvious that it was because he couldn't get up the rope, that I felt so bad for. And then just watching him break down. And then again, we saw Star helping him, that you brought up earlier. So,
and also the thing about that is, like, it was, that felt like a very true and very, I'm like probably gonna tear up thinking about it, because that was a really, I don't know, that was really hard for me to watch, just because I felt his emotions very deeply in that moment. Because there's one thing about, like, losing immunity, but there's something about, like, immunity wasn't on the line, right? One person probably could have won immunity, but the fact that it was like, I really wanted to do this. It was the food, it was camaraderie, all of this stuff. There was something that felt even worse than if they had just lost immunity, because either way, he probably wouldn't have won the immunity. So he wasn't mourning the loss of himself losing immunity. It was just like, that was a really, And because he's such a capable person in everything he does. I mean, he's a doctor, and he I think he's a surgeon, right?
Yeah.
Because you're letting so many people down.
Yeah, that was and the star. I just that whole moment.
I think his reaction was so genuine, and I think it showed to all the people who were still on the beach. And I think it helped him socially though with this group. I think if he kind of brushed it off, sorry guys, or joked about it, there's a lot of different reactions when you're the one on the line. Some people sometimes offer themselves up feeling so bad, but I think his reaction was genuine. I don't think he was doing it by purpose, but I do think it helped him socially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he did that in one of the first episodes. Something happened when they lost the challenge because of him. He was like, if it's me, I understand whatever he said. So
yeah.
Cedric, sorry, you're not a challenge beast, but we do think you're playing. I at least think he's playing a pretty good social game,
and he's running this game just to just the fact that he is the crux of everything. Bruce in the comments says Survivor will break everybody down, which is very true. But I think the thing that this is bringing up is realness. Survivor's I say it every episode. I love this show because it is Survivor has so many layers because it's not just strategy, it's not just social, it's not just physicality, it's all of that plus being a real human being. And I'm not, whether or not this is true, I don't know. Obviously, Eva said that she didn't feel like she could connect with Charity because she felt like there was some kind of disconnect because I'm not saying that Charity is fake. I'm just saying there was something where she just didn't feel Charity was being real with her. And maybe that's because Charity didn't get along with Eva. And that is a very real thing. And so I think the very important thing in Survivor is playing the game, but being very real as you possibly can while you're doing it, because that is number one, you're playing 24/7. It's hard not to do that, but it's also you're able to build stronger bonds in those moments. And I think this was one of those moments because he wasn't just, hey, it's okay, I'm cool, guys, let's keep on playing. It was, I messed up. This is really, really hard for me. And there was a moment because of that. And it was because you can't just be on all the time. And it's not fun to be around people who are on all the time.
No.
Absolutely not. So that was a real moment that we saw this episode that I really appreciated.
Yeah. I think Cedric is a very interesting person. How do you has an interesting game because obviously I feel like there were some maybe voting mistakes he made, not because of I'm happy Say is still in the game. To be clear, I love her and I want her on my screen as long as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. But do I think that was the best thing for his game? Probably not. But I do think that he is able to build these connections with people. Chrissy, Justin, Kevin, Say for a while, now Star. And I think that there's something to be said about these bridges he's building with people.
Yeah, I think he is naturally giving off trustworthy vibes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's his voice.
It's his voice.
Mitch,
his demeanor, his voice. He's calm, cool, collected. I will say, if I was playing with him on a tribe, and I would say, I would also be so frustrated, so beyond frustrated. So I do feel Say giving that that vote to on.
Oh my gosh,
that was so funny.
You know what I didn't understand about the vote? So. Well, I mean, I understand what happened, what they did and everything, but I didn't understand after the fact that Chrissy said Cedric needs to cut Say, he needs to let her go. You had the opportunity to vote her out right then and there. You didn't have to go Bianca. If she voted Say would have gone. I didn't understand.
My best guess would be when you're down to the wire and someone just gives you a name and you're like, did I know something or did I miss out on something? Someone's giving me the last minute clue. I just don't want to be left out of the boat. I think it was one of those where Chrissy didn't need the explanation. She was just like, oh, I'm being told this to make sure that I'm, right on the right side. And I think that's just how quick it was and how fast it ended up happening. I'm assuming Cedric did a trust me, this needs to happen. And that's my best guess because we didn't get to see it. That's really the only explanation I have because you're right. She wanted Say out and we still see her talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, is there, from a strategic standpoint, is there something to be said about keeping somebody around who you can always, you can trust that they're always going to be chaotic. You can trust they're always going to be maybe untrustworthy. And I'm not saying Say is untrustworthy, but it's just like, is there something to be said, how Christian Hubicki played back in 37, where he was just like, you know what, I just always want chaos, because if there's chaos, we can trust.
Yeah. Like you can expect
something to that.
Not that you can expect, but like, sorry.
No, you go too. I was just going to say, this might be a hot take, but Say's attitude is chaos agent, but the way she's voting is not chaos agent.
You're right.
So it's a little interesting, because we have seen chaos agents out there who don't act chaos agent, but they're voting chaos agent. Say is interesting, in which I go back to perception, because it just matters so much out there. The perception of Say is chaos agent, but none of her voting history is that crazy.
That's correct. That is very true. And maybe that's an even better reason for Say to stay in the game. Right. Because she's not, if she's, voting with the plan, she's doing what people are saying, here's the thing that we should do, but she's just acting kind of chaotic. She's picking fights with Mary. She's telling everybody about mozzarella sticks and sending Shaheen into a spiral. And then I feel like that is the best person to keep around.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I need someone. In many seasons, she gets taken to the end. Like, the perfect one vote who doesn't have a strong alliance that someone is picking up, right? We saw it in last season, my season, with Genevieve picking up some of those bottom people and being like, oh, I'm going to take you. I'm noticing you. I'm noticing you. I feel differently about this season, where this season is like kind of Reba 4-ish, where it's like we are working with our people and we are not straying from the path. So I need someone to pick up Say and bring her. So I want to see her on my TV screen. Like, the chaos commentary is what I'll call it, is just so entertaining for me.
It's so good. We have Jay in the comments. Jay said, Andy is an example of that on 47, right, Anika? He was fairly chaotic agent on the beach, but at Tribal, he voted strategically.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I think once he found his bearings, once he got to merge, right after my vote out, chaos agent. Oh, he was like, I'm a free man. I'm gonna go wherever I need to now.
Yeah. I think having someone like that in the game with you, like, they're going to be chaotic at the camp, whatever, how they're going to be. And I feel like that's way better than having someone who you don't know what they're going to do ever around.
As a player, I think that's stressful as hell. But from a viewing standpoint, it is so fun.
Yeah. And I will say, I think in the new era Survivor, really, and not even just new era, but in the probably past 10 years, people really don't think about a lot how emotions can be affected by people at camp. Because again, it's so easy. I'm pointing to my couch right now. It's so easy for me to be like, yeah, you got to keep Say, she's so fun, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm seeing her 90 minutes a week. And then also seeing her tweets and her comments online, right? And I feel like, it would be great. But it's like, I was talking with my friends at brunch today. You have friends that you are friends with, and then you have friends that you can live with. And those are not always the same people. No. And I feel like Survivor brings that out to the nth degree. And I feel like a lot of viewers forget about that, how people can really bring people's brain down because of what's going on.
Which I actually was talking about this the other day too with people, where Survivor is unique in comparison to other reality TV shows, like, for example, Big Brother, right? Big Brother, 100 days. That's a lot of time to be living with someone. Survivor is unique in that sometimes some players you'll see bring these chaos agents along, because 26 days goes by so quick out there. Like, the days feel long, but in relative terms, like, it goes by fast, So where you're like, I can handle living with this for just a couple days. And I think it is just so person dependent. Like, you have some people who are so patient, and we see Genevieve working with Rome, and we see a lot of players who have, have that level of patience. And then some people who just don't, So I think it is that, again, it all goes back to casting. Like, who are you? And then it also goes back to who you're playing the game with. And in casting, it's really interesting because, they don't even want to ask you the question of like how you think you're going to play the game, because how you play the game is going to be so different depending on who you're playing it with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think the 26-day game affects how people, they're like, it's only 26 days. I only have to live with this for 2 more weeks or whatever.
Yes.
Do you think that affects it?
100%. And it goes by so quickly that you don't have enough time to like really get deep. Well, I mean, you do have a ton of time, but I wish I had more time out there to have those conversations, to get closer with people, to have like, you know, just time with each other between each challenge. I wish, I think I do. I'm a believer that a 26 day game is harder. Obviously I haven't played 39, but I know that if I had a Rice out there, I would prefer a 39-day game, like 110%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it's very interesting because I think that there are, with the 26-day game, my opinion is that when everything's go, I think it's harder to repair relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any downtime and you don't have any, like, I'm somebody who, when I get upset, again, literally talking about this earlier today. When I get upset with somebody, I'm upset probably, if somebody does something to me, probably for like 2 days. And then after that, 3 days. And then after that, I'll be like, yeah, I don't care. I moved on. I'm good. I'm chill. Let's continue on. And I feel like you don't really have the ability to, you get blindsided, you pull a say, you go, you blindsided me twice. I'm going to write your name down, Cedric. Like, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, that just only reminds me of my own personal experience. The reason why, like, me and John Lovett did want to work together. All of day 2, we didn't have time to have a one-on-one conversation. And me and him talk about it all the time. Like, that's a huge reason that there's not enough time in the day where like you can go off with someone, especially in those first beginning days where you're trying to make sure you're not rocking the boat too much. You're staying together with everyone's watching where you're going, who's talking to who.
Mm-hmm.
So completely agree with your point.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about, we haven't really talked a lot about Charity, the ultimate merge boot, this episode. How did we feel? Do you think there was anything that she could have done to save her game? Like maybe not talking about Eva or throwing, Say's name out, or is there anything that Charity could have done to kind of flip a couple of votes? Really, all she needed was a couple of votes.
This might be a hot take, but I don't think it was crazy of a move for Charity to tell Star to get the idol back. Like, I think in many universes and many different seasons, that's a normal ask, right? And I don't think she came at it in a demanding way. I don't think she came at it in a way that was like, you need to do this is bad, or like talking down to Eva. Like, I honestly don't think she did that. So I think again, it goes back to perception. At that everyone's perception of Charity was just not someone she wanted to work with from the get-go. From those first days at SIVA where everyone's talking and maybe she's off a little bit, doing her own thing. I think from the get-go, first impression, unfortunately, Charity just didn't get on the best foot.
Yeah.
I think she approached it she was like, it's a game for $1 million. That's your idol. You deserve the idol. She literally, that's what, and she was saying truthful things, very truthful things. Like, in any other season, I don't think Star would have given away the idol, but also people would have like, yeah, you're right. And I think that is a very good point.
She's definitely she's a strategic thinker in a game of people playing an emotional game. And I think that's really hard, no matter what, to switch up, because it is obvious from how she's playing, it's not based on her emotions. And she even says that, I think, in a confessional where she's like, that's not me in my normal day, but we're playing a game out here, so I'm going to act this way. And we've seen that confessional from so many people over so many different seasons. So it's not like it's a crazy thing of her. I think it's that she just got unlucky that she's put on a season with people who want to play emotionally.
Right. How do you even go about asking for the idol back if Star, like, I feel like you can't. Right? I
think hypothetically, right, if I were to make this move, I would go about it in a way being like, let's talk about how we want to use it. Like, right? Like, bring the idol back to, like, it's a we idol. It's not necessarily a you idol. Like, I can use the idol, but let's use it together. And then obviously Eva doesn't have to do that because now it is hers. But I think, that would be one way to confront it. Again, it's so hard to think out there. So
yeah.
You know, you're right. It might seem like a really insane ask for Star, being like, how in the world approach this?
And then it's like, how would the person I gave it to take that I'm asking for it back? I feel like the person you're asking for it back from probably wouldn't take it well, and then that would put a target on your back.
Right.
So I don't know.
Right. Especially Eva, who was outwardly saying, I'm not the best
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that whole situation would be very interesting. Have we ever seen that on Survivor? Somebody asking for an idol back when they transferred. Yeah. I'm probably thinking it's not the same thing, but like Ty, when it was the joint idol move. Or it's like, okay, we're gonna take the idol together, and he's like, no. Yeah. And that was such a crazy thing to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it with Julie and Austin? That was another situation, but Austin never asked for it back.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. He didn't ask for it back.
Yeah. He gave it to her to save her for something like that. Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing. And then there's also like, you know, the knowledge is power. People would move the idols around.
Yeah.
Situation, but then somebody got voted out and they thought the idol was there. That was a whole thing.
Yeah. This is different though.
This is different. I don't think Charity could have changed the outcome. I also believe that since all the Sivas were still in, that was another thing that was just against her going into this, which didn't help at all. So I don't think there's anything that could have changed.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna say it's a little ironic to me and funny as a viewer seeing that Charity wants an easy vote and everyone else thought that Charity was the easy vote.
Yeah.
it's just a little ironic to watch.
It was that whole thing the whole episode was very interesting because she was saying let's do an easy vote and everyone was like, yep, we're gonna do an easy vote. I will say I would love to know what you guys think, because this is not a new question. I've heard this is not a new thought experiment, but we're seeing time and time again when a tribe is totally intact come merge. Sometimes the person goes on to win the game, a la Erica, but you know, a lot of times you see a tribe that's completely intact and everyone's like, okay, that is a strong alliance. We got to go for them. Should you throw a challenge just to make sure that you are weakened before merge, just so that you're not going to merge intact?
That's a hot question. I think it goes back to, it depends who you're playing with.
Yeah.
And I think because in this situation we had a tribe swap, it's different. Because they had an opportunity to make other alliances. I think in a world in which they didn't have a tribe swap and they had to go straight into the merge with the powerful six, I think that's way sketchier.
Yeah.
I have a mixed opinions on actually throwing a challenge. Because Survivor, this is my thought. Before playing the game, my take would have been, it's okay to throw a challenge. You're totally fine. After playing the game and after being blindsided, my take now is that you never want to throw a challenge. You just want to get to the merge. Because Survivor, as we've seen, is so messy. Things can change up in a second. That could be you. Yeah. And even if you're the one who's, imagine a world in which you're the one suggesting to throw the challenge and then someone could throw that back on you. You're playing too hard. You're gone. Like there's so many things can happen that I'm going to tell future players, I'm going to warn, maybe you don't want to throw a challenge. But as a viewer, it's fun to watch.
The players from this season of Australian Survivor should take that into consideration. 92 challenges have been thrown on this season of Australian Survivor. I haven't seen this most recent episode. Not
92.
I'm speaking hyperbolically, but a lot of challenges have been thrown, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here?
But you know what? On Australian Survivor, there was a few of them where it was kind of a strategic thing where it was like, if you throw the challenges, people from your tribe aren't going to go home. So you got to get rid of the other people.
He did do that. Anika, are you watching Australian Survivor?
No, so I'm gonna listen. Yeah.
This was a very, very crazy thing one person who is still in the game did. It was a crazy move. He basically was like, there was a tribe swap and it's brains versus brawn, and they had majority brains on a tribe. Okay. And basically he said, you know what, if you guys don't throw your challenges, we are going to pick off your tribe members, your brawn, one after another.
Whoa!
Your players hostages. And he had already tried to throw and thrown like 2 challenges prior to this. So he had a history of throwing challenges. And he was like,
for them every time? They're getting the right outcome of the vote every single time?
It wasn't him. I don't really remember. There's so many episodes in Australian Survivor. I honestly can't remember what happened. This was like 4 years ago, it feels like. It was like
I think it did work though, that at least the first time.
The hostage thing worked.
It worked, yeah.
It was great. It was crazy.
That is a very, very fascinating move, and I'm very impressed that it worked.
It was insane. It was he's a professional poker player, and usually I do not think poker players do well on Survivor. And is AJ doing well? Is AJ not doing well? I don't know. I don't know, but he is incredible. He's in final 7. It's crazy.
I love another aspect of Survivor is that everything's in hindsight, right? Like, I love a good move because it worked out, but then in the small chance it didn't work out, we're calling it the stupidest move ever, Yeah. So I'm so happy for him that it worked out. That's great.
Yeah. I agree with you because I'm my big hot take. I guess this is my big hot take of Survivor. Adam Klein trying to play that idol, not idol. Smart move.
Yeah.
I agree. Good.
I agree.
More people should start doing things.
Yeah.
Start picking up the garlic in the
It was worth the shot.
Jeff, is this an idol? More people should do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I only think it's silly because it didn't work.
Yeah.
But what if it did? What if it did?
No, people were like, in my comments one time, people were saying that, like, that was a dumb move by Adam. And I was like, it was not. It was not. There's precedent in other seasons in international versions of Survivor for something like that to happen. And what if it had worked? You would be praising him and being like, you're the best player. How would you even think of that?
Right.
And if he didn't try it, he probably would have been thinking forever, oh, I should have tried playing that. I should have tried that.
What did he have to lose? He had nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Hindsight is 2020, obviously, but also Survivor's it's a game. Do fun, silly things, right? Yeah. It's a game for a lot of money, but do fun, silly things because you never know. Jeff's a crazy guy. He could do crazy things. Hourglass could change the whole outcome of a season. You never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that, we do have a lot of questions that were sent in, so we should get to those after this commercial. But before we go, I do want to say, and I want to hear your thoughts. I don't think that this was the best episode of the season, but I still think this was a very solid merge episode overall. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I have thoughts on like the merge and the mergatory thing. Like, I'm not a fan of the mergatory thing. And I also feel like if they were going to do like everyone, like one person wins immunity, everyone's voting, I would have rather, and not be technically merged, I would have rather split them on 2 tribes and have one tribe safe. That's how I feel personally. And then just 2 tribes for the next 2 and then merge. Yeah. But I'm also just against the mergatory thing.
If we're monitoring, or like if we're rating entertainment factor on this episode, obviously I think we're just comparing it to a lot of hype episodes. Yeah. Like, this pre-merge is stacked. It is so exciting. We are seeing moves that are usually later in the game. So I've been really impressed with this pre-merge. So if we're high, like, it just seemed like a normal episode. I think from an episode, from like a standalone point, if you watched a lot of the conversations, I think we got some entertaining confessionals. We have Shaheen talking about pecs that look immaculate, like there are funny little bits in there. But if you watch from like a game point strategic eye point POV, it did fall a little flat in comparison to all the other, episodes we've been seeing. There weren't dramatic twists. They did kind of go for the easy vote. And what I'm interested in is if we see this core alliance stick with each other, will we continue to just have these easy votes that are outside of this alliance? You know,
Right.
like I am curious to see if we're going to continue to get those twists and turns and those exciting strategic plays, because that usually, you know, like historically, that's what happens is when we have this like strong alliance that stays with each other. I want someone to get an idol. I want someone to play up, and I want it to be a little messy. So
Yeah.
It was definitely the most predictable outcome of a vote, but even still when Jeff is reading the votes, there was still a moment where I feel like everyone's like, oh, could it be Say? So it still was a little.
And I blame it on the editing of the season. I don't necessarily even blame that on the episode. I was saying since like episode 2, I felt like Charity was getting a merge boot edit.
Yeah.
And it was just the way that they were portraying her, where I felt like they didn't want us to be so upset that she was gone because it was like a merge boot thing. So I don't even think that I blame it on the episode per se. I blame it on her edit overall, which is I just felt like she was not getting the best edit, which made me feel like she was going to go at this point. And I'm not alone. A lot of the internet was feeling that for like the majority of this pre-merge as well. So is that the editings? I feel like to me personally, I felt like the predictability of it all like was because of the editing, not necessarily because of this one episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, like talking about editing in that way, because the editors do only have to work with our confessionals. And if David's confessionals are talking about, you know, Charity not in a positive light, like, you know, that's the story that we're seeing, unfortunately. And like, I think, unfortunately, Charity like was just, you know,
that's true.
Yeah, like I agree that the editing laid it up to be that way. I think you could, if you want to keep it a little bit surprised, you leave out those confessionals. But at the same time, like that's what they have to work with.
And every once in a while, I'm okay not being shocked. Like, you know, it wasn't the same feeling, but Rome's boot was like an amazing episode because everyone was just talking about it. Like that was a really good, and obviously it wasn't the same thing, right? But sometimes you can't be shocked all the time.
Yeah.
Rome's episode was great because of his confessionals of confidence in his own episode. Like
that was
so good.
I still feel the whole time though, I kind of felt bad watching it. And I was like, oh God. Oh no, it's coming. No.
That was like such main character energy in that episode for him where I feel like you can't even be mad at it.
Yeah.
No, truly. But I felt like I was watching a horror film. I was like, don't go upstairs. Right? You can't get out of the house if you go upstairs. Please don't do that. And then it happened. But it was one of the most memorable episodes of like, you know,
sitting in Jeff's chair.
Shocking. What?
Sitting in Jeff's chair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can only imagine how much I had to hear about it when he walks through those steps to Pondy. That's the first thing. Guys, guess what? All of us, I came into Pondy bawling, crying. Rome gets to Pondy. God, guess what? And we're like,
Rome was just on a high. He didn't even care he was voted out. He was like,
I have a memory of him like skipping out, just like forgetting that he got voted out of Survivor. I don't know that it's true, but you know, he's the only person. Didn't Jeff ask one other like somebody on Winners at War to sit down, and they said no?
I feel like Jeff's been wanting this for a while. I feel
he's been wanting this for a while, but it was very memorable, and you know, it was one of those episodes where you knew it was coming, but it was still a very memorable, good episode.
Overall thoughts: weakest episode in an incredibly strong season.
Yes, which is great. Like, I still was
we'll accept that
at the end of it. Exactly. Well, we got a lot of questions that were sent in. So right after this ad, stick around. It's going to be social hour. We're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about. So we'll be right back after this.
Think you're the most knowledgeable Survivor superfan? Well, you can put that to the test with our Fantasy Survivor game. Welcome to Bracketology, fantasy sports for reality TV. We provide fantasy football style games for your favorite shows like Survivor and many more. We also have bracket style elimination challenges. Set your picks once for the whole season to see how your prediction skills fared. And don't forget to check out the season extras like contestant info, where you can see all the bios of each contestant, and our scoring recaps that are published each episode. Download the Bracketology mobile app or play on your computer at fantasy.bracketology.tv. It's entirely free to play, and you can win some awesome prizes. Good luck.
Wait, that was a fun ad. Sorry, really quickly. Fun fact. I was in a bracketology like Survivor draft before even applying for the show. That's like how I got like really, really into it. So anyway, just need to throw that
That's
out.
awesome. I love bracketology. I use it for pretty much every show.
Yeah.
And they've like blown up in the last like year. Like Masked Singer, like they're like sponsored by Fox.
Oh wow. Good for them.
There was an ad for the Masked Singer, and it was like, join our official like Masked Singer League, and it was like bracketology, and it was like very legit, very great.
Whoa, fun.
Yeah. I know, right?
Awesome.
Okay, so we did get a lot of questions. This was not a question that was sent in, but it's something that I do feel like I forgot about that we need to talk about. Ryan from over there asks, what the hell was going on with Jeff at Tribal? What was with all of the dancing and the club condo? All of that? Like, did he do that kind of stuff that was cut out of the, from 47? Did you ever remember any kind of?
No. Oh, I have so many thoughts on this. Okay. First thought is that Jeff does kind of mirror I think he's so good at his job. Like, I remember sitting in the chair being like so impressed that we're not taking any pauses. We're not taking any breaks. He's not repeating a single sentence. I'm like, wow, dang. Like, they really don't cut anything out. Like, he's just going and going and going. I remember being so impressed, and I remember him like being really good at balancing the energy of like what we give to him. I personally don't think that my season was as funky with it at Tribals. Like, everyone, like I said, mine was a very analytical, like very strategic season. So people knew what they were saying, which again is just a completely different vibe than what we're seeing this season. Like, we're seeing so many analogies like thrown out, which reminds me also of like Drew. Drew is like the king of analogies when he was at Tribal. Like, there are some people who know how to do Tribal really funky and well. And I think Jeff was kind of balancing that energy. And I do think Jeff wanted to be a little funky with it. Like, I think he likes to. And so when you kind of hand something on his platter, like the one where he did the whole popcorn sitting in his chair, or like letting Rome sit in his seat, like I think he likes to be a little,
loves a bit.
Yeah, he likes to be a little, yeah, exactly. He loves a bit. He loves a bit. So it was interesting to watch. However, my last point about this is that I think he's trying to keep all of his references pretty PG. So like, some of them were just so Bossa Nova, like, Jeff, what are you saying?
That was so wild. That was wild because also there was also an analogy coming from the cast about like sniffing butts at a dog park, and I was like, I can't handle what is going on right now. We're either at the Copacabana dancing, or we are at the local dog park. I need to know where I am in this story.
Yeah.
Happening here.
I'm sure Jeff was like also in his head like trying to log every single analogy that was being thrown at him, because maybe at max he gets like one and he can like roll with it, but like this season all of them were tossing it, like literally just throwing him at him, and like he was about to pick whatever he could.
Yeah. Jay said, I loved seeing Jeff be happy with his cute little dances.
Yeah.
I agree.
I love a happy Jeff. That's true. I love a happy Jeff. Okay, we got this question sent in from Brian Kelly was taken. Is there anyone you want for 50 that would annoy fans?
Oh.
What would annoy? I know everybody's going to annoy somebody.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That is, I think, a really good question. I think there's a lot of people who I feel passionately about wanting to see play again that have been burned in pre-merge that I think might annoy fans because they're not a favorite, like I think a lot of people believe that they should only see people play again who have made it further in the game. Which maybe I would have had that take before, I was burned in pre-merge. So maybe this is my own personal bias and I'm aware of that, but I'm trying to think of someone in pre-merge who I would feel really passionately wanting to see play again. I think I've really wanted to see Sabaya play again. I don't know if that would upset people, but I think she made a lot of moves.
I will fight them because I would love to see Sabaya again.
Yeah.
People do feel passionately about not seeing pre-mergers play again. So
Which is crazy because to that I say Kelly Wentworth. To that I say Kelly Wentworth.
It's my fifth queen.
Like to that I say Reem Daly, right? Like there are
Austin Rob a pre-merge also at some point.
Austin Rob was a pre-jury, but technically he made the merge. I think he was like the merge boot or like, but like it's just I think like there are very, very solid rebuttals to that. Francesca, I would say Francesca. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I would say honestly, I mean, we haven't seen you back, but I just think that there are. Oh yeah, Brian from the other room says Culpepper. Like there are people, like were pre-merge and have done amazing, and I think that just shows if you get cast on Survivor, you're cast for a reason. And it's because, except for Jelinski. Not because I don't like Jelinski, but because Jeff said it himself. He thinks everyone who's cast, they think they have a possibility of winning.
Yeah, and that's why he should come back.
Jelinski should come back. But so I think, I mean, my person, I don't think this would annoy anybody. Maybe it would. Is Brian Corden, who was, I mean, I'm biased because I know him in real life and I think he's amazing. But he's a genius. He's so smart, and also pre-merge from Guatemala, a while ago, but. I just think it would be amazing. Sorry, I love pre-mergers.
It's more interesting to see a pre-merger come back and get to see them play a longer game than someone who we've seen them play the whole game, especially like someone who's won.
And we're not just saying this because you're here, Anika.
Yeah. I was like,
we would say this whether you're here or not.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. And I agree. And I want to shout it to the producers and send it subliminally into their pre-merge season, please. Whether I'm on it or not, I want to see it again. I mean, I'm trying to think of who else who would annoy someone. Like, there's a lot of people I want to see play again.
And there are people, like the people that I don't necessarily want to see again, I think are the people that would annoy people if they were back. Like, I love Boston Rob. I don't necessarily think I need to see Boston Rob again. I love Tony. Don't think I need to see Tony again. Love Sandra. Like, there are people, but I don't think that would annoy, like, I think that would annoy people if they came back, but I don't really necessarily want them back.
No, I agree. Yeah. 50 is going to be interesting no matter what, because we have established that there are going to be big names. Playing with people who are fans of, have watched them as fans. And I think that's a very interesting dynamic that every time that we have seen these bigger names play, it's either like winners at war or it's, as an all-star. I guess fans versus favorites. I take that back. Fans versus favorites is essentially that concept, but they're on different tribes. Now we're seeing them on the same tribe.
Yeah. I'm very excited. It's going to be interesting. Well, Speaking of season 50, we have this question from this diary. Cara's laughing because I don't know how to say this. Diary of the Dioscuri. I think that's the closest probably I've gotten. Anika, how have you voted in the season 50 poll so far?
Okay. Yes, of course I have. I am so active immediately after the episode. Remind me some of the questions. Merge buff colors. I picked the middle one. It was like the fun colors, the blue, pink, teal. Rice or no rice? I said no rice. Which I might be a hot take for some people, but I genuinely think the 26 days with rice, like you would have so much brain power. And I think that would be just a completely different game.
The idle powers, or not idle powers, the powers of the how powerful do you want the twists or whatever, medium, high, or crazy or whatever.
I'm pretty sure I voted to keep them like generic idol, like lower power generic idols.
Yeah.
Bring back the regular idol.
Yeah.
None of this beware advantage. Bring back just an idol.
Live reunion. Live reunion.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely, duh. That we will know if they're twisting the votes or not if there's not a live reunion.
Yeah, there was the wording is so textbook example of how to influence votes, because the wording on the first one was like, do you want to give players a chance to save themselves in the game, or do you want them to not because you hate them?
Yeah.
And, like, the forced final fire. It was like literally out of my 7th grade textbook of like voter fraud or whatever it is. The opposite.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember what I voted for fire making. I think I voted no fire making. Yeah, I voted no fire making.
Because the thing is like, it's not forced. Like, I don't want it to be forced because it's probably going to happen anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It happens a lot anyway. But there's sometimes, you know what? Just vote them out.
Yeah.
Just vote them out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we have this question from Colin Loveland. Colin says, in exit interviews, Charity called Shaheen a chameleon. What do you think? What do you make of this and his social game?
So it's actually interesting. Shaheen is a fascinating player to me, because I do think he's playing well. But if you write down the facts, like he thought his number one was Thomas. Thomas number one was Bianca. So that's, first of all, an interesting point. If you're missing that your number one has another number one, I'm a little worried for your game.
Yeah.
I do think he's playing a really good social game, being in the alliance that he is, but we do see that people are a little bit sketched out by him, which I'm now analyzing. Also, another interesting detail about him is that he didn't want to play too hard with Thomas, but he's still being marked as a player to watch out for that might turn on them. So it's an interesting dynamic to be the one person who is like the sketchiest of a group that's playing with honor and integrity.
Yeah.
So I'm crossing my fingers for Shaheen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, where are they getting this from, that he is this sketchy? Because I feel like we haven't seen that really.
Right.
Unless I'm just not remembering. But I feel like we haven't seen him do anything that's been weird that people think that.
It's either their perception of them or they're tying him to Thomas, who was like seen as, you know, a villain. So I think it's one of the two. Either we're not seeing it or they're just.
It could also come from a couple of things. Daryl said Kyle told David to watch out for Shaheen. So it could come from the fact that Camilla told Kyle that it was Shaheen who went through his bag.
Oh, yes. That's right. I forgot about the bag.
The fact that when he was back at his original tribe, he was, I think, and I could be misremembering this, but I feel like he was one of the few who actively was reaching out to Star and actively, like, you know, and so maybe when they were actively trying to work against Star, him wanting to work with Star maybe was a, you know, iffier thing. But, you know, I don't know, because I think he's playing a pretty loyal game. I mean, he didn't want to burn Star's. I mean, I guess only him and Thomas knew about that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's my winner. I think he's perfect. I don't know.
Okay, another thing is, like, I think he's actually playing it right, where he's not talking to too many people. I think he's aware of his perception, and his perception is that, like, maybe he is kind of like not the most loyal of the honest integrity crew. So it would look sketch if he was, you know, talking one-on-one with every other person. I think that's a strategy we see, that 46 people were scared of Shaheen. Yeah.
And I think I said this in one of my videos I had made. I think that him being an alternate on 46 helped him a lot. And it goes back to what Emily said on 45. Like, just because Bruce literally went through the preseason, everything, and he literally just getting out to the beach is a slight advantage. And I think he realized after hearing all of the interviews, beard guy, he was like, oh my God, I didn't even talk to these people and I'm making a huge impression. And I think that we're seeing that impact in his game, because he knows that no matter what he does, he's going to make a big impression. And so he definitely doesn't want to be seen as somebody who is.
Agreed. And I think being an alternate is a huge advantage in the game. If you have to go through the pregame twice, like, but beforehand, when I was watching 45, I actually didn't know about the existence of pregame. And I remember thinking Emily was kind of crazy for yelling at Bruce. Now going through this process and like understanding what pregame is, understanding those first few moments, even like the feeling of a camera on you, huge advantage. Experiencing confessional for the first time, like any of those little details, huge advantage. Sorry, Bruce, who I think is watching, but you and every other alternate got
And here, I don't take the advantage. That's great. Good.
I mean, clearly learned from it. So honestly,
Rachel did well with it.
Yeah, exactly. Why not use that?
I love Rachel for being so like straight, like so self-aware that she was like, my game is so different on 46. Like if like 46 was not her season, she said it so many times. She's like, I'm so happy I was on 47 because it's, again, it's so dependent on who you're playing with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do think the Shaheen looking through Kyle's bag is gonna, I forgot about that. I mean, that makes sense. I think that is gonna follow him throughout the rest of his time in the game, especially as long as Kyle and Camilla are there.
Yep.
Yeah. If only he looked through that bag a little bit better.
Oh man.
Yeah. Or not in front of Camilla.
Or not.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Rachel, this was in the comment in the chat a little bit earlier. Jay asked, does anybody from 48 remind you of Rachel so far, Anika?
No. Honestly, I don't think so. I think a lot of different players, when I watch the season, I'm like pointing out, I'm like, oh, that's the Rome of my season, and that's this person and that's the Kyle of my season, you know. But in terms of Rachel, absolutely not. I don't think there's someone who is out there playing the same social game with the same strengths that she has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's kind of a singular. I think I people on the internet don't necessarily agree with me, but I think that she's one of the best winners of Survivor because she's so well-rounded. And I don't have a list. I'm not good at lists. I'm not good at that. I can't rank people. It's too hard. There are too many people. There are too many seasons to do that. I can't do it. I can tell you what my least favorite is. It's Thailand. But other than that, I can't do that. Winner and season. I don't like Brian Heidig. Okay. Sorry, Brian. I know you're watching.
She had a lot going for her.
What?
She had a lot going for her.
Yeah, I think Rachel is just such a well-rounded winner, and we haven't seen somebody who has strengths in. I'm not saying we have a lot of great winners, but she had strengths in literally every aspect of the game of Survivor, and it was really wild to watch that play out. And it was so like obvious that obviously we had the edit and all that stuff, but I think that's going to be a hard game to replicate because it's so, I don't know.
I think the biggest points I want to give to Rachel, well, for starters, I think I love how aware she is about the luck she had in the game. Like there were a lot of moments, you know, Soul giving her their advantage, being on the only one on a tribe with all of Tuku, but then there was a possibility of having the advantage. Like she is aware of that, and I appreciate that so much about her. But I do think the moment where she is that powerful winner is when she did become a threat to everyone. And she was able to win those challenges. She was able to, you know, maneuver her way through situations, play an idol correctly. Like all of those different aspects, when you are seen as a threat, is very, very hard to do. And I think that's what she did incredibly. Yeah. She's aware that she could have been voted out in the merge, like because that's the name of the game, and she got lucky. Yeah. And I think that's some reasons why some people discredit her. But in this new era where we are seeing these advantages, we're going on these journeys, there's a possibility of losing your vote. I feel not passionately about this, as I am someone who lost my vote on a journey. But that is the name of the game. I have to accept it. It is what it is. Yeah. She got lucky. Some don't. I didn't get lucky. She did. And then because of that, she was able to really level up her game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all part of it.
Yeah. It's all part of it. And my big argument about people discrediting people for luck is I truly believe every single season of Survivor since season 1, luck is involved in literally every single thing. Oh, I just hit myself in the eye. That's how passionately I feel. At every part of Survivor, every season of Survivor, luck has been involved because you have to be lucky to be on the tribe that maybe you mesh with, maybe you don't mesh with that tribe. If you're lucky that there are challenges that fit it's almost like Slumdog Millionaire, where it's like, you know, you have to have, it's luck because that challenge was really good for me. If it was another challenge, it would have been really bad for me, or all of these other things. Lucky because we ended up in an island that I feel like I'm better in than this other place. You know, if
you swap one person on tribes, completely different game. You're lucky. Exactly. Your point. Yeah.
She wasn't lucky. Sorry. I was gonna say she was lucky, but it wasn't like she didn't do anything with that. She did things with her luck that like helped her and like made her who she was in the game. You know, if that makes sense.
Luck is, I mean, you know, Stephanie was very unlucky because she was on a tribe that lost. And you know, even in her journal, she wrote, like, I'm on the bad tribe, darn, you know.
Birdie was lucky because her tribe never went to tribal council.
Exactly. Like, it's all, it's a lucky game. It's all, it's luck, but it's also strategy. It's, again, I love this show. Shocker.
Which is why second chances season are so fun because, or at least I love a second chance season only because because we know luck is so involved from every step of the game. Giving someone else another chance to see what they're going to do with it. So fun.
So good. So good. Okay, we also have a question. We got this question from Chris. Chris asked, do we think Star is a dark horse to win the game?
I think there's a possibility. I think there's a lot of different seasons that someone like Star who's playing Star's game goes far.
Yeah.
I think so.
Do we know if there's going to be the split like we've seen after the merge?
I think I've been seeing posts about it.
Okay.
That they are going to split in this next episode.
I worry about Star's prospects in that split. Just because I don't know if she ends up on a tribe with a duo or anybody from this like honesty and integrity thing, and it's somebody that she hasn't worked with. I'm just very nervous for her in that. And it's not because I don't think she's playing a good game. I think she is playing a good game. I worry come luck, right? I worry of where she lands.
I think she has de-threatenized herself in a good way though. That maybe she'll last at least a little bit longer than that split. Unless she is really the odd, like the Rachel in a group of Tuku. Like if she is that person where she's one out of the alliance, then I would feel very, very worried for her. But her threat level is low right now. She seems to be, working herself with the Honesty Integrity Alliance. So we'll see. We'll see.
I want to see if I can find, people have posted like the breakdown. I want to see if I can find that.
Oh, yes, please.
Reddit is incredible. Reddit is so powerful. It's actually very interesting to me because obviously coming back from playing the game, I knew what happened to myself, right? But the amount of people who predicted exactly what was going to happen to me, who have never, like all they saw was the promo and maybe my bio, right? I was just genuinely impressed. Like I was like, how did they know? How did they know? And for other people too, like some people are some people are drastically wrong, but some people are so spot on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I am fine with being wrong. One of the reasons that I say this every single year, one of the reasons why I love filming my predictions is because I love going back and laughing at myself. I think I predicted Rachel third boot or something.
Yeah.
Like from your season. And I'm like, what a dummy. I'm so dumb. That's so funny.
But it is so fun. Like even bracketology, like these drafts, like you're basing it off of a bio, which so funny. Yeah.
I found it.
So
the orange, I guess, orange Siva is Star, Eva, Joe, Mitch, Say, and Chrissy.
Oh.
And then the purple, which I guess would be Loggy, is Cedric, Mary, Shaheen, Camilla, David, and Kyle.
If that team loses, that'll be so interesting.
But they're both going to, if it's like the past, they're both going to tribal council. So it's just one person is making the jury and one person isn't.
Yeah.
I feel like we lose Cedric and Chrissy.
Really? Chrissy, you think? Because Chrissy was a part. Who was she with again? Say that again.
Star, Eva, Joe, Mitch, and Say.
Star, Eva, Joe, Mitch, and Say. I don't know. I worry about Star.
Maybe Mitch.
I worry about Star in that.
Star?
I worry about Say in that.
Really? Oh, I could. That's true.
Cedric.
Yeah.
She doesn't have Cedric like covering for her.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, this is going to be juicy. This is going to be good.
Remind me the other group? So Cedric's in the other group.
Cedric, Mary, Shaheen, Camilla, David, and Kyle.
Camilla and Kyle are again together.
That's a crazy group.
That is impeccable luck.
That's crazy. Wow. I'm very excited.
It could be Shaheen, actually.
No, don't say that.
I don't want it to be, but it could be.
Yeah, who are we worried about in that group? I'm worried for Cedric.
I'm worried for Cedric. In the promo, they said we're going to frame Shaheen. I'm not sure what they're framing him for, but that makes me think that means it's not going to be Shaheen. When I hear a name in a promo, I'm like, okay, then I don't think that's that person. It's not 100% true, but there's something about, oh, that's crazy. I also don't like this split because it makes me really sad for the person who doesn't make the jury. I think it's so much worse. I think it's so much worse. because it's happening on the same night and it's like literally just if one person lasted slightly longer, I think it's not fun.
This is why I think
no time in Ponderosa. Like it is genuinely the worst spot to be in my opinion.
That's why I think they should split into 2 and then merge after that for these tribals and then merge, because it's not fair to merge and then split again. That defeats the whole purpose.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but it isn't.
You're saying like tribe swap into 2 different tribes and like live on 2 different beaches.
Yeah.
Or you can even, I would be even okay with tribe swapping to 2 different tribes and just live on the same beach, but just have tribal divisions. Have it be like a one world twist, but it's a merge, but not a merge, but you know where the tribe divisions are. So if you're like number 1 is on another group, you could try to work the other people. Like I think that would be you could see some interesting.
That would be cool.
This is a great new twist to the merge that we would love to see. That's new versus the new twist that is the exact same. So someone hire Twig, CBS.
Yeah. I've got ideas at the wazoo. This is just one of them.
Swap back to the original tribes. I think I should try that.
LOL.
Imagine Jeff is like, drop your bluffs.
You're going back.
You're not going to have to draw anything. You're on green. Sorry.
That would be interesting.
It would be an interesting twist that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Diabolical. It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing. Okay, we have this question from Ollie. Ollie asked Anika, since you're the Survivor 47 fashion queen, who has the best island fashion this season?
Oh my God. Okay. Shout out to Shaheen's purple sweater shirt. Like his knit striped vibe. Love that. And he's wearing his sambas on the island. Did anyone notice that? Like that's a crazy pick to wear out there. So shout out to that outfit. Obviously Mary, like her little green clip is such a hit. I'm obsessed.
I'll be Mary for Christmas, for Halloween.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if I'm allowed to share, whatever. We are allowed like only a certain amount of like hair ties out there. And there's not a lot. So that would count as one of her hair ties essentially. And I had a scrunchie, a hair clip, and 1 hair tie. And so fun fact, I actually had Andy give me one of his other hair ties to be able to braid my hair because I didn't have enough to be able to do the 2 braids with Rachel the whole entire time. So I love that we're getting one of her little hair pieces as her little clip out there. I'm trying to think of everyone else's outfits. I actually do remember noticing Charity's highlighter pink sweater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which how is it still that clean is my question.
And I also like that she's on the orange tribe, but she's wearing pink. And obviously I know pink and orange are very, like, they look very similar, but in my head, pink goes with purple. Like Kenzie was on the purple tribe and Kenzie's wearing pink. Yes. And I think that's really fun that she was wearing pink on an orange tribe. I don't know. I liked that one a lot.
Yeah. I do too. I'm trying to remember if anyone else is really standing out to me. What about you guys? Anything else?
My big was I really was excited to see Stephanie, but obviously
how can I forget? Oh my God, Stephanie and her hats.
Yeah, her hats, and then also I just want like that first tribal council. I went, oh my God, I love Stephanie's sweater, and then Mary popped on with her like I love Mary's sweater. I know it's just a checkered sweater, but
it's so good
for it. It's so good, and I'm like, oh my God, these sweaters are too good.
Yes, and I also think that they are executing their own personal style perfectly. Yeah. Anyone else wearing Stephanie's outfit, it looks wrong. Yeah. Anyone else wearing that checkered sweater, it looks wrong. And I love when someone has their own personal style out there, and it's just chef's kiss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love the statement pieces.
I think we've gotten some really good fashion choices the last couple of seasons.
I love a hat. Yeah.
Oh,
I love a hat. Stephanie's hat, excellent. Wish we got to see more of it.
I know. R.I.P. Okay, I'll do one more question, and this question is from Gross Brandt. That's how Gross, right? Yeah, that's how you spell gross. Okay. Who are y'all's favorite players and winner predictions? I'm guessing for this season. I'm guessing they mean winner players for this season. Or favorite players for this season.
Okay. Do you guys want to go you guys take this one?
Well, my winner prediction, I've already said it, is Shaheen.
Okay.
And I'm really, it's hard to choose favorite because I think so many people bring so many wonderful things to the table. So favorite's a very hard word. I mean, I said earlier, I don't like lists. Favorite is hard for me because it feels very finite and, done. But I'm really enjoying Kyle and Camilla's dynamic a lot. And I think that they are really fun because they have a real connection because of like their shared his background, but also I think they get along really well. And I like seeing them strategize. And they're just, I think they have the right chemistry. There's just something about them and I really love it. And so I would probably say those two are two people that I really enjoy watching play the game of Survivor. So they would definitely be high up on my list this season.
Okay. My winner pick would probably be someone within this Honesty Integrity Alliance. Like I think they're sticking true, tried and true. I think they're making it to end. I think one of them is winning. It's hard for me to pick favorite. Obviously, similarly, I've become friends with a lot of them. I think they're beautiful people. But if I had to pick a favorite, I'm saying Mary. Mary's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Mary. Yeah. I love her so much.
So good.
Yeah.
And if you're not following her, I say this every time also, go follow her on Instagram and please.
She's killing it. She's so funny. She's so funny. She's so quick with it. Like I appreciate someone who is quick and ready.
Yes. I feel like I've been saying David in the past like few episodes we've done that I'm rooting for him, so I feel like I have to stick with David. I like agree that I don't know if he's actually gonna win, like we've said in past episodes. But I think I'm just gonna stick with him because I gotta stick with my with my gut at this point.
Absolutely. And I will say I don't necessarily think that I don't think I picked Shaheen preseason. I stand by it. I think it was a very solid pick. I don't think necessarily think he's gonna win just like solely based on the edit. I've been saying for the last couple of episodes, I do think that Joe is going to win. There's something about the way they're talking about him.
Yeah.
There's just something about that way. I wouldn't be mad at that, necessarily mad at that, but I got to stick with my preseason winner pick always. Ride or die.
I could see Kyle too. I could see Kyle winning.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
He's getting a great edit. I think it's like in Total Number Confessionals, it's like Say, and then it's Kyle, and then I forget who's third.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. I mean, I would be very happy about that, but it's always very weird to me when you see people who are playing Survivor who are still on the show, and then at some point you just find out they're gonna win. They win. Like I remember when I met Kenzie, I did not know she was gonna win because I don't like getting spoiled or whatever, and then she wins and I'm like, that's crazy. We had a conversation. We talked and you didn't tell me you won. If I won Survivor, that'd be immediately on my bio. I know you have to sign an NDA, but like,
I didn't win Survivor 48.
You'll be dropping hints.
53. How are you guys doing? Sorry, my name's Tegwyth. I did hijack this news feed to tell you guys this. I'm so sorry. I needed to get the word out. Like, that's crazy. Somebody's won this season and they know. I just realized that.
Yes.
It's crazy.
But in terms of favorite, I think it's so hard for us to pick one because this season is stacked with good personalities.
And also like people, I'm pro Say. Like I want, like I said earlier, I love her. I want her on my screen as long as possible. And I'm definitely pro Say. So it's just like, it's hard to choose a favorite.
Yeah, I think she's so entertaining. I want to continue. I'm so happy she's still on our screen. Absolutely.
It's a good season. Oh, I love this show. Oh my God.
So good.
Well, again, as always, we didn't actually get to all of the questions because we got so many, but thank you every single person for sending in all of the questions. These were very fun.
Do one more. We'll be quick.
Okay.
One more.
Okay. Let's do, I don't know. This one might be cool. We'll do it for each person. Okay. So Chris sent this in. So who from the cast does Anika think is most like her? And I would love to hear, Cara, who you think is most like you as well.
Oh,
okay.
This is a hard one, I feel like.
Of people still in the game or
I would say anybody on the cast.
Okay.
If we're doing anybody on the cast, I think I would probably have to say either Bianca or Stephanie.
That is placed closest to you? Or
to me.
To you. Okay. Bianca or Stephanie.
I just think that there's something about, I don't know. vibes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bianca for myself too.
My mind just goes to
Yeah.
Bianca. They're both the same fifth boo, but I don't know. I'm trying to analyze the actual similarities.
I also will say I think I go to Bianca a lot, where I don't think we're super similar, and people have been comparing our looks, even though I don't think I look like Bianca a ton. Huge compliment for me, but so I think because of that, I also gravitate towards Bianca. I don't know if I would play necessarily like her. Actually, I probably would play kind of like her.
I don't think anyone's playing like I played out there, and I can actually actively say that as if I've played, and I know that I can play like anyone who's playing right now. Closest, I don't know. If you guys think of someone, let me know, because I'm struggling to find a comparison. In my head, I'm trying to think of like, Puzzle Beast, someone who felt comfortable in like levels of social alliance.
The only person I'm thinking of is either Kyle or Camilla, because I would say that Kyle and Camilla have a close enough bond that's reminding me of you and Rachel. And I think that if one of them had been blindsided at one point, it would have been a very similar situation. And I think that they're both and I really think it could be either of them. Because you're a woman, I think I'm leaning towards Camilla. But she's also good at puzzles as well. Like,
you're right. Honestly, Camilla. Actually, what am I thinking? Camilla, hands down. We'll put it. Most similar would be Camilla.
And it's hard, right? It's not, no one is a 1-for-1, right? But I think that, we're seeing her play a pretty loyal game to one person specifically.
Yeah, which is what I was doing. It was Rachel, ride or die to the end.
Yeah. So I think, that's the only person that I think, because again, who else in the beginning would have been? Camilla also lives in Cali.
Yeah.
Girls.
Yes. Bay Area. Ooh.
But you're not Canadian, so that's different.
That is true.
So never mind. I take it back. I'm just kidding.
That one difference.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I Camilla. I'm gonna go with Camilla.
And you both are very strategic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think you could have pulled off that lie, you and Rachel? Could you, if you guys were in that same spot? Do you think you two?
Yeah, it's actually so funny. Like, I think me and Rachel had that connection that we didn't need to talk about anything. We didn't need to really say we're each other's number ones. Like, we didn't do any of that. It was just a mutual feeling of like, we're playing the game the same way. We want to play it this way. I think the key difference is we thought we were being really inconspicuous about our duo when we had the same exact hair, we looked the same way, we reacted the same way. There's moments where you just see us like in the same exact position where our like hands are on our hips, wearing the exact same thing. Like, it's the same sports bra from Target and the same underwear. Anyways, so I think that's kind of like where we went wrong, where like Camilla and Kyle look like an inconspicuous duo. Mm-hmm. Whereas you look at Rachel, who are doing and winning the puzzles together constantly. You're like, shit, they're working together. Like, duh. But in our head, we were like, wow, we're not even talking to each other. Like, we're playing it so cool. Like, we haven't even connected. Like we did not walk off together. Like, you don't see us walking off together and having those duos because we didn't do that because we thought we were playing this game so well. Little did everyone know that it was me and Rachel as a duo. So
was that like an instant connection for you two? Like, was that like day one?
It was literally like it only a couple of hours. Like, it was so instant, and we didn't even have to have like a full-on conversation. It was just like a look. It was literally a look between each other, and we were like, yeah. Like, it was that quickly and that fast. Which is so interesting to me because out there, like, our strategy, we did have a conversation being like, we don't have to talk to each other a lot. Like, we'll just trust each other. Like, that's it. Like, we don't want to come off as we're like playing the game together, like too threatening. So what ended up happening is I did talk to Sierra a lot, who I was obviously willing to be loyal with. Like, I was ready to play with Sierra. I was ready to play with Sam. But Sam saw me always talking to Sierra as a massive threat to him taking his number one. So when Sierra's talking to me about a lot of personal things happening in her life, and to me, I'm just thinking in my head, it's not strategy. I'm just like, spending my time talking to Sierra about her life. Like, it was not, in my mind, I didn't take it as that threatening. Sam saw it as threatening. When we both came back from the island, me and Sam had an 8-hour long FaceTime going through every single thing that we see each other and what he caught as a threat from what I did. Wow. And honestly, it helped me a lot because I was like, oh, I guess I did do that, and I did say that, and I guess I can see why you thought I was a threat. So that's fun. But yeah, back to circle it back, Camilla.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's one of the things that, with a 6-person tribe is very interesting to me, because I think that these duos would happen no matter what. But I think the 6-person tribe, it really it encourages duos. Like I think of Kelly Nalbandian and Brando, and they were in the middle of the duos on their tribe, and there are all of these duos. Heather and Erica, there are always duos on these 6-person tribes, because I just think there are not many people. And I think that on an 8-person tribe, or, a larger, how many would it be? Yeah, I guess it would be 8, because it would be 2 tribes of 8, 16 people, or 10s or something. Yeah. But I think that with more people, the duos are less conspicuous and not as tight almost.
Yeah.
But because there are so few people, you're just well, it's either going to be 2 or 3 or maybe 4, but it's not going to be more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there is a benefit to a tribe swap with 6 people on a tribe. I think that is the right move, because it is so hard to hide in a group of 6.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just very interesting. And I think that your tribe was very interesting also because of the fact of it was 6 people, but 2 people didn't necessarily really want to, I felt Andy and John weren't a natural duo, at least what it seemed like on the screen. Whereas you and Rachel were a natural duo, and maybe Sam and Sierra were a little bit more natural, but it felt like Andy and John were I guess we're not a part of the other duos, so I guess we're here together. But maybe I'm reading.
I think because too much had to be cut out of that first episode, because it was jam packed with a lot of things that happened. My perception of it was that they were a really close duo, and there is and again, another important conversation that didn't make the edit is me and Rachel going back and forth saying we're dead set in the middle. We can either go with Sam and Sierra, or we can go Andy and John. And we had that discussion, and it wasn't until Andy's conversation with Rachel night 2, where Rachel got skeeved out by Andy's strategy, that is a huge reason that pushed us to work with Sam and Sierra. But there is a world that doesn't happen, and Rachel doesn't get skeeved out by that. And we work with John and Andy, no matter if Andy has his panic attack or not, and either Sam or Sierra go home first. Wow. That is a very, very, very close possibility, because me and Rachel were so in the middle.
Wow.
This is Jay. I agree with you. Anika is a great guest. Please. I agree. I think this is a really great conversation. Do we have time for one more question?
I say yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is from Colin Loveland. Which social game has been the best pre-merge so far? Who needs to improve their social game now? It's a really big question.
Which social game has been the best pre-merge? Are we asking whose social game is which?
Yeah. Who to this point has had, do you think, the best social game, and who has had the worst? Because maybe this is a little foreshadowing the social butterfly, but I think, I think this is a very hard question, because I feel like we've only seen one episode of all of them together. And I think that really, and I'm not going to take into account anybody who's voted out, because, something fell short. Right. But I think that what I've seen so far, and the building blocks, I mean, clearly I'm leaning towards these 2. But I think that right now I'm really loving Kyle's social game, because again, he voted 4, and he was very close to being voted out of the game had he not had that idol, right? He has the bond with Camilla, but he's also willingly, after 2 of these people voted for him, they're bringing him in to a situation. And he also is working well with Chrissy, and David, and he has these inroads with other people from his previous tribe. And I don't know. There's something about the way he's playing the game I really like to watch. And I think he's playing a very social game with elements of other amazing parts.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think so who I'm going to say isn't the same for social butterfly. This is just different. But I feel like it's Cedric. He is always in the know. He's always making connections when he's swapped, when he's merged. He made a connection with Star and then Chrissy and Mitch. I feel like he's always in the middle of everything. He knows what's happening. He's the last person to get the information that they go into tribal with.
I think there's also something to say about Cedric, where it's like, if you're not doing well in challenges, you know, what's going to save you is your social game, you know?
Yeah.
And if you're not going to win immunities now at this point, like if you know you're a weaker player, what keeps you still? Your social game. So props to him for that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think you're right. I think Cedric has played, you know, he's been leading this season, whether he likes it or not. He's, you know, making most of the decisions.
Yeah, totally. And I agree with you, Tag, Kyle. Like, we're seeing it in the edit. The edit is giving us the perfect layup of like Kyle saying that he's in the middle with Camilla and they're in a great spot. Like, and they know they're in a great spot, and because they are. So
they are.
Yeah. I think this season honestly is chock full of social players. Whether this physical, quote unquote, physical alliance wants to admit it or not, that's a social bond. That's a social strategy of finding people who you think could be good. I mean, they're shields for each other, right? That's why they're saving each. They said they don't want to be shields. They're shields for each other. And that is a social strategy of working with people who you think you know might be. It's like a zebra, you know, zebras have stripes so that you get lost within, you know, a pack, and one person might be called off, but the majority of the pack will be fine. And I feel like that's what we're getting with this alliance. And so, you know, Daryl says David's social game has been really good. Say needs to work on her social game, which I do kind of. David has, you know, done a pretty good job too.
Which is funny because one of the things David said in his confessional about, like, if you're social, you got to go. Or that was one of the things he listed in his list of things, like dishonesty, whatever, which is funny because
we're thinking that he's a good social. For David to get pulled into this honesty integrity alliance at being outside of, you know, when it got really solidified. Way to go, David.
Yeah. I think people discount the social part of Survivor because it's really hard to define, because it's like interactions with human beings. It's not, you know, you can tell when you're watching strategy happen, you can tell you're watching strategy. When you're watching somebody do a challenge or fish or make a fire, you can tell that they're doing that. But when somebody is acting in a social way, when Kenzie was, you know, taking care of Ben, that was a human moment, but believe it, whether you like it or not, that was also a very socially strategic, like a socially good move for her.
Yeah.
Because
go ahead. I was about to jump to who I think needs to work on their social game. I will double down and say, but I want to add Mitch. Mitch was left out of the charity vote. And it should be a little obvious to him, hopefully, that like there is another alliance forming without him. Like this should be a wake-up call to him. So the question I just see now the charity is gone, who will Mitch try to align with?
This is the last question that we got sent. And so now that you're it's a perfect time.
I love how that connects so beautifully.
I know, right?
Who do we think?
I don't know.
Cedric.
Yeah, that's true.
Cedric for sure, I think.
Chrissy, maybe.
Chrissy, yeah. Say maybe. Well, maybe not because he voted for her. So
Chrissy wasn't. There was a 4, and I'm not saying that what you start off with is what you're beholden to the rest of the season, but Chrissy was in a 4 with David, Camilla, Kyle, and herself. Right. And the people on the outs were Mitch and Charity. And maybe they're working together now, but I don't know that she really feels tied to Mitch.
I agree. So I am curious to see what Mitch does. If I were Mitch, I would try to infiltrate this alliance in which you find one person in that alliance, like a Joe, to not take pity is not the right word, but to feel so strongly emotionally tied to you that they want to work with you, and then create that strong bond, and then hopefully like they bring you into the duo or flip something up. Like we've seen that a lot in 46 too. Like once they got to the merge, people were making new duos. So if Mitch can manage a new duo, I think then
A
duo.
And that alliance did split where they voted. Some of them voted for Say, some of them voted for Charity.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I feel like the best way forward for Mitch, and I don't remember where the break is, because I do think that Mitch is not playing the best social game other than with Cedric. But I do think that it is with Cedric, and I do think that Cedric is playing. We spoke about this. He is playing a pretty good social game, and whether he has maybe a tie to Mary, maybe a tie to Chrissy, and I think that with that he could be the like lightning rod or the tie-in or whatever to bring Mitch in and be like, hey, he doesn't have anybody. We need a number. We're going against this like behemoth of a 5-person alliance over here.
Underdog alliance.
Yeah. We need a number. Let's bring him in. And then maybe that's where he can find his footing. But I think that, and you're right. I forgot he does have a block of vote. And so that could be a good bargaining tool, or, to use that as a way to gain more social capital. It's a really good point, Jay. I forgot about that.
Mitch should be in the physical threat alliance, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
He's honest. He's a physical threat.
He is very honest. He told everybody about his block vote.
Yeah.
So interesting why we're not seeing him be looped in. I think it might have been his affinity to Charity
too.
Yeah.
That was holding him back. And like we see Cedric tied to Say, and we see Mitch tied to Charity. And I think it's like kind of a turnoff to the other, group. So we'll see now. Maybe he does get pulled in. Maybe this
could be like a really good thing for his game. Like maybe this could be the best for his game, because it's like when I was watching Big Brother 25, and I was like, if only Cerie's son could just be voted out and Cerie could play her own game, it would be amazing, and we could see her flourish. And maybe we'll see that with Mitch, and maybe his game will flourish because and I'm not saying that Charity was that bad at the game. I mean, Jared was fine. Sorry. I don't want to throw stones on I don't want to throw straight to Jared Fields, but
sometimes being linked to someone is the worst thing that could happen to you in the game.
It goes back to our first conversation, perception.
Yeah.
So, that was, I'm really excited. This has gotten me, one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast on Sunday is because now I'm very excited for Wednesday, and we're not that far off.
Yeah.
We're not that far.
2 quick days, and then it's Wednesday.
Well, we do have a couple of awards to give out. Thank you again, everybody, for sending in the questions. That was a blast, and it takes us down some really fun roads. But it is now time for Cara's sweet thing of the podcast. All right, Cara, for those who don't know, can you tell us what a sweet thing is?
Yeah.
I played the thing again. Sorry. Not be in control. I should not be in control.
So me and my cousin Kateri have a podcast called the Sweet Things Podcast, where at the end of each episode, we give our sweet thing of the week, which there it is a sweet treat, a drink, some kind of snack that we like during the week. For Survivor, it's a little different. It's just like a moment we liked, or if there's food or just anything in the episode that we liked is our sweet thing. For this week, I actually have 2 that I'm kind of torn between. I feel like there are a few good moments, but I think I'm going to go with Say coming out of nowhere and just swiping that advantage for the community challenge.
I forgot about that.
So funny.
That
moment cured my migraine.
I went back and was like going through it slowly to see where she came from. I think the green, she was just blending in, but it was just so funny how she just came out of nowhere and caught that.
I'm glad you actually said that, because that narrowed it down for me. I had a top 3 that I was having a really hard time deciding between. And what I'm actually going to go with is Mary being so smooth with it.
That was my other one.
Just a little climb back, her body gliding through that mud. That was so satisfying for my brain.
It was incredible. That moment, I think I called it a ballet. In one of my videos, I was like, it was like watching a ballet. It was like watching a master of a master ballerina, doing some twirl or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was incredible.
Only Mary could do that.
Really.
Yeah.
Really. And you know what? Mary and Say were not even the focus of this episode. We got a little bit of Say because she got votes, but and Mary still pulls out a moment. She pulls out an incredible moment. That's how we know she's good TV, because she can do it like that. She's incredible.
Amazing.
Okay, then I will go with I said it earlier when Shaheen goes, mozzarella sticks. It's kind of a sweet thing, kind of a moment. It's a little bit of everything. Yeah. But also just like Say going through all that food, like with that smirk on her face, lying back in the
hammock is great.
hammock was diabolical. Also, she's the only one who does not have any mud on her body, right? Because everyone who went to the food feast was covered in mud. They were not able to wash the mud from their body. And she just sitting back talking about all the food. It was incredible. That moment was amazing.
So lying in the hammock is what's crazy to me, because there's only two out there, and like you were trying to obviously share with everyone and not be the asshole who is taking up the hammock all the time. So like everyone, at least on my season, was hyper aware of like who was spending time in the hammock. And like if you actively were like yourself, like I'm not going to take up too much time, like you can have it next, you know, like those conversations were being had. This is crazy.
It was crazy.
It is so uncomfortable out there, and the only thing was the hammock that was comfortable. So
that moment,
especially after she was like calling out Mary for being excited about going on the reward. Amazing.
After talking to the people who didn't get the food lying in the hammock is haha, suckers was the attitude.
It is diabolical. It's amazing. And I also will say, when on her social media, she said, you know, when she said that thing about calling Mary out, and she was like, let's be real, if I won that, I would have been gloating too. Like, we love a self-aware queen, because that's what she is. She's like, you know what? I would have been gloating as well. Let me just be clear. And then we got to see it firsthand. Amazing.
I have a silent feature sweet thing that I want to throw out also as well. The immunity necklace.
Oh yeah. So true.
Oh my God. I thought it was gorgeous in comparison to the bat that my season got. I think, sorry, if you love the bat, okay, whatever, we disagree. I could not stand looking at that. I mean, I never saw it in person, but the bat, I was, oh my God, I did not like the bat. And
this one is so pretty.
It is really good. It's
gorgeous.
I like a colorful immunity necklace.
And the color of the merch buff.
Yeah. The blue is so pretty. Oh my God.
So good. And I don't think we've seen a blue merge in a while.
It's so nice.
So I think that's a really good one. And somebody was like, it looks like, I saw a tweet where it was like, it looked like they designed that idol for Kyle's neck. It fits him like
perfectly.
Could not fit him better. So good. Oh, this is one of the reasons why Sweet Thing is probably one of my favorite parts of the podcast, because there are moments I was like, I completely forgot about that. That's incredible. Love. 10 out of 10. Oh my God, amazing.
It's a good bit, you guys.
All right. It is now time for the coveted Social Butterfly Award. Y'all, I gotta work on my timing. But for those who don't know, the Social Butterfly is going to be an award we give out for the person that we think did best socially this episode. We've talked about this a little bit. We got a little preview. So Cara, do you think is Cedric your person or no?
No. Okay. I'm between two people, but I think no. I'm going to go with the first person that came to mind, and that is Star. I think this episode was great for Star socially with Cedric and just maneuvering. Star's name doesn't come up. Star threw the first name out at the reward, and no one even mentioned it again. Beautiful. So I definitely think Star.
Mine was also Star.
Mine was also Star.
I think it's a hand down obvious social butterfly award for her.
Yeah, and it's very rare that all three people agree. The fact that, definitely, I love her. I think that it was a great episode for her. And I think it was definitely her breakout episode. We got a little bit last episode, but it was just really good to see her. The fact that she also, has nothing to do with social, but the fact she had that moment in the voting confessional with the lid that went flying or the pen that went flying. She's so funny.
What about the moment where she's lying on the beach and she's like, today I choose peace?
Yes.
Like,
moment.
I love that. Star, put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. Sell a print of it. I don't know. It's so good. Like, yeah, she had a really great episode. And I'm really hoping that we see her more in this season, because I really like how she's playing the game.
Yeah. Me too.
She has a character arc that I'm loving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me too, especially because she was so like left out. She really was. And I'm really loving that we're just seeing more of her. And this is why when people say like, you know, this person, this whatever, I'm like, I think every single person who gets cast on Survivor gets cast for a reason. And we just don't have the privilege to see that reason for some people. And I like when we're finally going to be able to see why. If Star had been voted out earlier, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't see this part of her.
Which there's a world that happens if they had to go to a tribal, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful because it is, you know, so good. Amazing. Well, Anika, as always, I mean, it was so much fun to have. Not as always, it's the first time we've had her, but it was so fun to chat with you. Tell the people where they can find you.
Okay. Obviously, my name is Anika. You can find me on all social platforms at Anika Leah. Leah is my middle name, Leia, for those who are listening. And for those who are Survivor fans, I will be in Boston at RHAP this next week. So if you're there, come say hi. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah. I'm also going to be there, so I'll see you there.
Tag! Oh my God, I'm so excited. We're watching the episode together.
Oh, I'm so excited. Taking the train, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be so much fun.
So fun.
I'm flying in.
I guess that train for you would be rough.
Yeah, let me just go across the country.
She's on the train now.
I love Boston. I spent 6 years of my life in Boston, so I'm very excited to be back.
I have never really been to Boston. I mean, I've been there once. I've been there for like 2 days for a bachelorette party, but it was over, what's that holiday with all the green stuff?
Oh, St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day. So I feel like
All the green stuff.
Crazy weekend to be in Boston for. That's like when Boston goes hard.
I know.
Wow.
It was fun, but it was, I didn't really get to feel like I saw a lot of,
That's so fair. That is so fair.
But I'm very excited.
I'm excited for you to be there.
Well, see you next week. Cara, where can people find you?
Instagram, XOX_Cara, Sweet Things Podcast, Survivor Now Podcast, Sundays.
All the places. And, you know, we do have a great lineup coming up this week. As always, we have the after show, the pre-show. We've got Stock Watch, all of the things coming up. Please go make sure to follow at Survivor Now Pod on Instagram to keep up with all of the fun things that we're doing. But thank you everybody for checking us out and chatting with us. It's always such a blast, and we will see you next week. Don't forget to stay social.